Alberta independence, as it really is, by the GOP. Empowered today, Alberta Prosperity Project, Jeffrey Rath and Dennis Modry met with Trump administrative officials who say, yeah, we want to see that in 26. We want to see Alberta go for independence. We back you. We'll even lend you money to see that done. And folks, Albertans, I promise you everything you think you know is absolutely wrong. USA isn't backing you into BC in any way for Alberta independence. It's actually entirely to stop the massive Chinese amalgamation of two key provinces, and Saskatchewan's currently falling too. Your push towards communist China, towards Chinese sovereignty, is at an epic maximum, meaning all projects through the Pacific are all for China's benefit. This Sunday, I'm going to go through the massive fourth installment. I've already done 3. The Trump administration gets every single one. If folks think for 1 minute USA isn't all over this, you're wrong. And if Albertans think that Trump and the Trump administration backing Alberta independence means pipelines to BC, pipelines and product all over the world, you're dead wrong. Because none of those projects, folks, have anything to do with the United States of America. In fact, for the last 8 years now, all of Alberta's projects and BC's projects have been exclusively for Canadian investment into China and China's sovereignty against the United States of America. America backs independence not to expand Alberta and all these areas. Albertans think they're going, yeah, we get independence, we're going to get out to the coast, USA is going to make all that happen. USA is shutting you down with China. And with that, bankrupting the rest of Canada, the snap of a finger. It is happening. Whether it's Alberta, BC, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Quebec, Ontario, and the Atlantic provinces outside of New Brunswick. That's probably the only province in Canada relatively unscathed by the United States of America. Least amount of Chinese amalgamation. But the rest of it, folks, the rest of Canada is targeted by the Trump administration absolutely province by province by province. I tagged my friend Dennis Modry in this. I tagged my friend Hans Mercier in this. I tagged my friend Benjamin Ebley in this. Jonathan Bahai, who knows quite a bit because he's active with me every week. And I know Western Canadians believe in some kind of mythical reality that you're going out into the world. You're going to have your products all over Europe and everywhere. None of that's ever been true. It's never going to be true. It's all for China. That's all you've been doing in the last 8 years. And in fact, since 2011, Alberta flipped a switch, finished off some American projects, but they were started long before 2011. Since 2011, everything in Alberta, BC, now transitioning Saskatchewan, at least in the last 5 years, has been for a move and a push towards communist China against the United States of America. The worst provinces in Canada are all the Western provinces. I know Canadians go, no, it's not true. Look at every single project. This Sunday in my part 4, as I've been hammering these for 4 weeks straight, I show you the 5 nation-building projects started long ago under PC 16-year high member Mark Carney and Stephen Harper. Liberal, conservative, I know, it's not true. But Daniel Smith doesn't support either. They're all one crown. I've tried to explain this over and over and over again. Nobody wants independence to really join the United States. They're all living, which I find really funny. The Trump administration knows. He knows that breaking Alberta with Canada or helping that along is only going to speed up Canada, the 51st state. If Alberta falls, Alberta's isolated and only has the United States of America. Not only is that it for Canada, it's absolutely it for Alberta. Because everything we're doing today in Alberta is for China, not for the United States of America. Hasn't been for the United States of America for 8 years in all limited projects we have. It's a push to get with China and repel the United States. All LNG, all of your gas projects out to BC, all the railway, all the pipeline, not for USA, all for China. That's Alberta, that's BC, and it's quickly turning into Saskatchewan too. It's an infection. Yeah. Trump isn't supporting Alberta independence so you can have all of those things. He's doing it to cut you off of China, to cut Canada off of China. If he can divide that out, BC loses all of its supply that the feedstock BC uses, Canada uses to feed China, to grow and expand China. You're not going to find anybody else to dispute what I'm sharing here today. I welcome everybody to look at it. It's been in publication since 2011. I know. Albertans, Saskatchewanians, no, it's a lie. You're in bed with David Eby and the Liberal Party of Canada. All your projects are for one leftist move, extreme leftist fascist move against the United States. That's what Canada's designed to do. And we hit a pivotal moment in time where Canada said, we can't allow USA to get any stronger. That's what our design as a country's for. We're the Great Wall of American expansionism. And America has got to a point with the current president of the United States, they can't allow China or the BRICS nations to grow anymore. It's already bad enough. All Canadians, you have sent 2,400 tons of Canadian gold to China and India under BRICS since 2011, since this transition. Never mind oil, natural gas, that you take out of Alberta's Great Lake of natural gas, not for United States, not for North American security or energy independence, but for China's. Because I promise you it's not going to the EU. Anyone telling you that is not looking at international law, not looking at transportation via the ocean, and Canada's inability to meet those international commitments on the ocean. Not in transportation, honored by USA, honored by Europe, and guess who not honored by? Ding, 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 China. And we send our Aframax in violation of all that for the betterment of China and under the protection of China. And Canadians can't wake up to this. And you think you're going to have all these things in an Alberta independence. You're not. They're all getting shut down. If you think things are bad now, I know. I've watched the slow erosion of Alberta. I've lived it, as lots of brethren in my trades have seen. I was just in courses all this week back home in Alberta, and we're all going through it going, wow, things are really bad here. And it isn't going to get any better in a Donald J. Trump-backed Alberta Independence 2026. In fact, everything that these separatists and these sovereigntists, these autonomists, Daniel Smith and everybody else are banking on or telling you you're going to get are going to be cut off. Absolutely. And I'm going to tell you, everybody, as painful as that truth is, I am like this. Yes, yes, because it will lead us absolutely and very quickly to Canada, the 51st state. Because when you lose that Alberta, BC, and then federal revenue commitment and our GDP in this country, Canada's done. You sink Albertans, you sink British Columbians, and you know what? 1/3 of Canada's primary GDP, finito. That's what Alberta independence under a USA-backed system on the landlocked nation of Alberta. When I did Alberta independence, I presented the UN landlocked nation of Alberta under developing nation status. I read tremendous amounts and never brought Alberta into independence without any of these truths. And everybody going forward is living in absence of international law and reality. Alberta will lose all of it with BC, snap of a finger, overnight. And that's what USA wants. And I, for one, am totally behind the Trump administration in this narrative, because it will be the destruction entirely of Canada. Absolutely. You shut that China down, you shut that Western narrative out the Pacific to China, and Canada is officially game over. Trump was trying to do the China deal. He's still trying to do the deal. But that's not looking good. If you haven't seen soya beans and all of it, canola, the agricultural hit to America, if you haven't seen all of that, the interruption of Trump, who's taking on not only the globe, the evil of Canada, but all of BRICS, and China, who's nearly tit for tat in global economic strength, at least while aligned with just India and Russia. Never mind the rest of BRICS, but just that. And if you haven't seen where the agricultural replacements for China are coming from, go look into BRICS, go look into the South American countries. Up to snuff on all of it. This is a beautiful thing Donald J. Trump's doing. Not for the betterment of Alberta, or not for a truly prosperous Alberta country, but to bust Canada, destroy Canada as it is, and bankrupt it. And that is what it is. A big wedge in Canada, a cutoff of absolutely China entirely. The Great Lake of natural gas will not run to China anymore in that narrative. And that's why it's a very reasonable $500 million investment alone, where everyone will be tits up. Again, so many delusional Canadians. I hate to say it, Albertans are the worst. They're the worst. And I know I'm a 5th generation Albertan. Lived here my whole life. I know it like the back of my hand. Of all peoples, I know my own peoples. And I know the ignorance. And how do I know that? Because I've toured 10 provinces, 2.5 territories, really, and now over 37 states of the United States of America. And I have learned, I have seen, and I know the truth. I know how Alberta looks with 8,500 Chinese CCTV cameras. Albertans have no idea. And I know all North Americans, it's a very small. This is American and Canadian. I am probably only one of maybe a few thousand total Americans and Canadians. We're talking 372 million people who've gone through absolutely all of Canada almost as I have, and nearly 80% of the United States of America. We are very few and far between. There's not many people that can say they've done that. I've seen with my own eyes. I've met all the people. I've seen it for what it is. I know all of North America, at least in relation to USA and Canada, in a very, very good, accurate, really lived reality. I know. And I know what Alberta is, and I know what the rest of Canada and North America are not. I've been to BC. I've seen all that. I've seen the density, the destruction, the pollution, the corruption. I see it in Alberta. Sadly, we're starting to see it in Saskatchewan too. It's being unearthed. And by the time Sunday's finished, you're all going to see the most explosive and damning evidence, the best presentation yet, part 4. And of course, part 5 really icens it off, but we're never going to see that. America's already moving rapidly, fast. And Canada is going to go down. And I think we're very likely to see that in 2026. One way or another. And I think Albertans think that they're special and somehow it's only going to be them. If you've missed Donald J. Trump's military presentation just before the midnight lockdowns, and he got that done, calling in all the military, knowing this was coming, and presenting what he presented with the cities, the narrative of Canada, where Canada's going. I don't know what to tell you, but I'm up to snuff. And USA has many, 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 many ways of skinning this cat. They have all kinds of strategies, all kinds of outcomes for one truth. Canada, the 51st state, they don't care how they destabilize it. They don't care how they do it. And for Canadians, if you don't know, the number one systematic and ingrained concept in almost every American is the idea that there's no way in hell we the people will ever fall, and certainly there will never be a communist system built on their northern border. Every American will unite on that. That is a fact. And this is where we are going. And this truly is going to be the end of Canada, the country. And I would think now, within the year, again, I'm not even saying it's just Alberta independence. It's multiple fronts. You can see all the attacks on all the provinces, and that wedge in Alberta is just the latest strategy coming to reality that, again, no Canadian really understands. I can tell you, all the Alberta separatists, I know this for a fact, Dennis Modry, Jeffrey Rath, Alberta Prosperity Project, these folks have no idea that everything they think that's going to materialize with Alberta independence sponsored by the Trump administration means all of these massive out the Pacific coast and out to the world projects is never going to happen. They're going to end on that day. And if you don't know why, I suggest you start contacting all the best American legal experts in international law, Because clearly, none of you have any clue. You have no idea how the powers of this world work since 1945, and you have no idea what it's going to mean. And what you think you're going to get, you're not getting. And in fact, it's only going to be your quicker destruction, your quicker, rampant bankruptcy, where you're begging and you're going, help, help, help. That's what's going to happen. I know you think, I have all the resources in the world. Without investment, without the ability to get out to market, without those offshore platforms and that military and that infrastructure, that global trade routes and support, with who? Will that be Canada? Will that be USA? No. They're going to belly up you and in turn belly up the rest of Canada. And I, for one, again, everybody, fully support it as just another notch in the belt of a long list of American strategies to break Canada, break the crown, and produce Canada the 51st state. You will find this deadly accurate. You will find this deadly accurate. Everybody share, share, share. Get it out there. Choose to see it the way you want. But I promise you, that is what it is. And every great expert in the United States of America will back this up. That it doesn't mean anything Albertans think it means. And if you ever want to know why, all you have to do is look at U.S. Ambassador Pete Hoekstra's post on Esso and ConocoPhillips and the thousands of Albertans who commented on all the Chinese plans and progress in China's sovereignty that they have absolutely no effing clue about. That includes all your Jeffrey Rath, Dennis Modry, and I'm not knocking anybody here, and I'm not knocking Hans Mercy from Quebec, but this is the difference about people who come from other fields and think that they understand this stuff or they know the world, and you will find the reality of a landlocked country without UN ratification or without any system of international trade other than beholden to the USA, who only wishes to destroy Canada and cut Canada off of China. And it's not destroying Canada, everybody. Those are really bad words I'm using here. It's about destroying the crown, the Great Wall of North America, and the positive transition to China's sovereignty, the security of the BRICS nations. That's America's end goal, and Canada entirely is America's end goal, and they don't care which narratives get them there. They will pursue all of them, and they actively are in almost every single province of the country known as Canada. God bless everybody. That's my video. Get it out there. Share, share, share. Know the truth. Learn the truth. This Sunday on X, I'm going to go through LNG, BC, all by the grace of what are known as the Great Lakes of natural gas from Alberta, sold pennies on the dollar to BC for entirely the security and energy sovereignty of China. God bless. Bye now. Learn the truth. Don't be a conservative or a libtard. Because again, it don't matter left to right and every other spectrum of crown in the middle. It's about up and it's about down. Something Canadians know nothing about. But you will find president after president after president in most recent American history over and over again smashing this into Americans, and Americans voting unanimously, meaning bipartisanly, meaning you will see people elected to presidency in those supermajorities. And we have. God bless everybody. Bye now.